It's 9:43 p.m. Eastern time on Friday night. The kids are in bed. We got tummies full of chocolate fondue. And you know what that means. It's time to get our bake on.
Why do you say it like that?
It's time to get our bake on because it's a terrible catchphrase. It's time to get our bake on. Is that better? It's time to get our bake on.
No, it's not any better.
Yeah.
It doesn't get better.
It's time to get our bake on. You've joined us for another episode of Bake On.
It's time to get our bake on.
Oh, it's time to get our bacon.
No, it's time to get our bake on.
But you can do that because you're cute. Let me try that. It's time to get our bake on. Gross. Gross. Too sweet, like white chocolate.
Oh, segue.
Oh.
Riding a segue through this podcast.
It was Chocolate Week, folks.
Yes.
And this one, oh boy.
Well, I think that this is a classic case of everybody thinking the opposite of what the judges is thinking.
Well, okay. You know what I thought a lot about this week? Alvin's pineapple upside down cake.
Yeah, totally.
The briefing for that one was we're doing an upside down cake. No, it was an upside down cake, but no sugar.
Yes, that's what no refined sugar.
No refined sugar.
White bag of sugar not allowed.
X.
They used, people used agave,
honey,
molasses.
Yeah. I believe,
which is a refined product, but they allowed it.
I believe Alvin used honey in his pineapple upside down. But
and he also used a lot of the pineapple juice was the thing.
And so what you think of when you think of an upside down fruit cake, you think of pineapple upside down cake. At least I do. Apparently that is a fairly American thing, which makes sense if you think of the number one area that pineapples come from is like Hawaii, which is an American state, a U.S. state, I should say. But it's what I think of. He did a simple, straightforward, and nailed it.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was delicious. And he had 15 minutes left at the end.
Yeah. And he was worried. He was like, I feel like I didn't do enough. And then they came through and were like, yeah, this is spot on.
So this week, the signature bake was brownies.
Yeah.
And
everyone blew it.
Everyone blew it. They totally blew it.
Everyone whiffed it so hard. I will say at best was Peter got an it's okay. But I would say almost everyone.
But even he added figs and cinnamon and the whole thing. The judges were talking about at the beginning. They were like, hey, it's got to be chewy and gooey in the center, but not
too sweet.
Not too sweet.
And Prue even said, now this was in a cutaway. Prue said you don't need to add too much frosting or
because she wanted to see the kind of crackle on the top, which to me, when I eat a brownie, I just eat a plain brownie. I think it would have been awesome if somebody had served whipped cream on the side or clotted cream or even a little, I think it would a quenelle of vanilla ice cream.
Sure. You know what I would have done?
If they had time for ice cream.
A little jelly, running through. Instead of topping it, have a vein of jam or preserves or something. Yeah. But anyways.
Anyway, they all whiffed it because they all tried way too hard and put way too much stuff in it, on it, around it, through it, all that stuff.
Almost everyone, if not everyone, got the comment of the flavors are good, but the texture is off.
Right, because they took too much stock in, well, I'm going to zhuzh it up and I'm going to do an Italian buttercream and I'm going to do a cheesecake and I'm going to do all this stuff when they could have just focused up, made the brownies, and then
just done the brief. Here's what I think. Here's my theory on what happened.
Fulfilled the brief.
Here's what I think happened. If you look back over the first 3 weeks, right, they had a lot of big fancy design challenges.
Yes.
And I think
a la nailed it style.
Right. And I think that one of two things is true. Either because they had so many fancy design challenges, they're in their heads and they're well, I can't just give them a plain brownie. It's got to have something that sets it apart. I got to do something. Right. And they ruined it.
And then they ended up with raspberries and pistachios and white chocolate and dark chocolate and marshmallows and all that stuff.
Or option two, they're all bad at making it.
I was not expecting that, but that's not what the show. They have to like apply and
I mean, sure, but this was the first time, like I think in memory, that I've watched the show and thought I could do better than that. I could have done that better. Right now, out the gate, could have made brownies better than I have for a long time had an idea for like to do like a parody of Great British Bake Off, just because we've watched it so much. Like Burning Love is a parody of Bachelor. Like I know it so well. I think I could lampoon it really, really well. And one of the like characters I want to write is like somebody who just keeps showing up with like, powdered mixes in boxes, and then they're like, "Is this not?" Oh, nobody else is. But then they keep like winning because everyone's like, this tastes really good. And like this would have been a week where literally I think someone with a mix out of a box would have done better than half of the people in the tent.
So it's against the rules.
Well, yes, I realize that. I'm saying hypothetically.
Oh, okay. In like your satirical world.
Sure.
Okay.
Now, here's what I want.
Because don't do that.
No. You'll get laughed out of the tent.
You won't get on, basically. They won't let you on the show.
Well, I will also say this. I thought that Mr. Hollywood was being especially negative this week. When he said stuff to like Peter when he said like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Where she's like, that's catty. And then he also, I think, said to Dave, like, it's a decent cake. Which is like, that is a good look. Like, it felt like he was being very nitpicky.
Sometimes I feel like all of the fun that Matt and Noel like poke at Paul for being like, the silverback and like, well, I'm going to throw my cake in his face or whatever is undeserved. This week, kind of deserved that.
He was being a real stick in the mud, I felt. Now, that's not to say that they didn't do a bad job in brownies. Of
course. I mean, there's a difference between, you said this while we were watching it, right? So Mary Berry was kind of like everybody's grandma.
Correct.
And you want the love of your grandma. So you make great food. Prue
is like a teacher.
It's like a teacher. Right. You want to impress Prue.
You want her to give you an A. You want to be the teacher's pet.
And basically, Paul is like a coach. You don't want him to yell at you.
Yes, very much so. I mean, and we saw it today. Laura said numerous times, like, I just wanted to make something that Paul liked. I feel like Paul is especially hard on her, does not like her aesthetic. You pointed that out. Like, I don't think he's ever liked one of her designs. I think he, like, it was interesting because until the, like, wrap up, I thought he was disappointed in what Peter had done that week. And then he was like, what about Peter for Star Baker? Yeah. And it's like, whoa, dude, where's that coming from?
He was just very tightly wound this week.
But I think that is attributed to because everyone did a bad job in brownies.
Yeah.
I think we've seen it before. There was one, we were trying to remember, but there was an episode where like everyone did so bad in technical that he was like the person who got first, he was like, don't be proud of this. And I think that, like, that was how he felt after the brownie thing. And I think that made him especially salty for, like, the rest of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it.
Because he was salty. Salty.
And, okay, all right. I also want to say that we seem to be hard on Paul if he does, hard on Paul if he doesn't. Because remember when we were so upset that he kept giving out handshakes?
Sure, but he's got to find a middle ground. Like, that's the thing is, like, when he has that middle ground, that, like, those are the episodes and seasons where I feel like everybody clicks a little bit. And I feel like in this season, he has been kind of salty throughout, and I think it's putting everyone on edge, and they're not doing their best because they're not worried about how good their bake is. They're worried if Paul will like it.
Yeah.
And I think that is a different energy than just like, I want to bake the best cake I can. When you literally have contestants saying, I just want to bake something Paul likes, you're chasing something instead of just doing your best.
Like some impossible dream.
Yeah. I think that if you look at the brownies, I think one of the reasons that everybody whiffed it is they were trying to impress instead of just doing their best.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to technical.
So technical was a chocolate-filled babka. Babka. Which, when done right, is an absolutely gorgeous and delicious.
Now, Prue said that she had a babka in New York, and she was disappointed. I was not disappointed with my babka from New York.
So there, Prue. So kiss my grits.
And it actually was a gift congratulating us on the birth of our second daughter. We got a collection of...
Oh, from Russ and Daughters.
Yes, of bagels, cream cheese, and a babka.
Is that the babka you ate before I got home from the trip I was on at the time?
Yeah, because you were gone.
It's fair. It's fair.
Did I eat the babka? No, I ate all the bagels.
No, I didn't. I don't remember that babka.
Okay, then I ate all the babka.
Yeah, I think you ate all that babka, but that's okay because you were feeding a human life, and I respect it.
And you were gone, and I needed it.
No, Lisa, it's fine. It's fine.
Anyway, it was delicious. So obviously, Prue just didn't have the right one.
Well, I think that's true of anything, right? Like, you can't go into a store. That's like going into a Sbarro.
I said bagels again.
You said bagel.
Bagels.
Bagels.
I feel so self-conscious about it now.
How are you supposed to say it? Bagels. Bagels. I ate it, a bagel.
But like, it makes me feel...
I had an everything bagel.
Bagel.
Nope.
No, bagel.
You're saying bagel.
Bagel.
No, it's okay. But you're saying it like B-E-G bag. Say B-A-Y, bagel.
Bagel.
There you go.
That doesn't sound right. It's a bagel.
It's not a bagel. It's not a bagel. You guys.
Okay.
Oh my God, you guys, it's a bagel.
I want to take a poll in the YouTube comments.
You don't? Trust me, honey, I love you, and you don't want to lose this badly because it's not bagel.
Speaking of YouTube comments, there were several comments last week about my eating on the mic. And yes, I agree with you. It's terrible. I'm so sorry.
Well, I guess you guys aren't into mukbang ASMR like
I guess
yours
not.
truly.
I guess not.
Speaking of, what did we have for our eat-along snack this evening?
Well, you said it already.
I know, but we didn't go into it. We had chocolate fondue.
Chocolate fondue, strawberries, and pretzel bread.
Yeah. I made a dark chocolate. Oh, we haven't even talked about our chocolate preference. I made a dark chocolate with a little bit of sea salt and butter mixed into it. Here's the thing. This is a dark chocolate household. We do not care especially for white chocolate. I saw Great British Bake Off, their Twitter account, put up a poll, or it was like one of those, like, one of these has to go. And it was dark chocolate, milk chocolate, mint chocolate, and white chocolate.
White chocolate.
The answer to that is so easy for me. White chocolate. It's not really chocolate. It's just like...
It's the absence of chocolate.
Yeah,
almost.
It's just like butter solids.
Anyway.
So,
we're not big fans, but that doesn't mean that we don't appreciate it. And yes, babka. So... I think that they did a fairly good job. Now, here's the thing, right? Paul and Prue in the little, like, sidebar cutaway scene.
Over in their individual cafe.
Yep. Talked about the thing, right? When they twist the two strands that they make, it can't be too long.
Right.
Anything that's too long is, one, not going to prove well.
Too tight.
And two, is not going to bake well.
And it's not going to fit in the tin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tinned bake, right? So it has to be a specific length where it fills it up to the ends, but it's not over full.
Right.
And the two people who ended up being in the running for going home, Lottie and Sarah, both were like, this is too long. And there was a moment where I felt... So yesterday, I made a beer bread from a mix, but I made a delicious pumpkin beer bread that I put some caramel into. And the thing is as I was baking it, I was like, oh, I'll put some brown butter on top to crisp it up. And I got distracted and the butter burned a little bit. And without thinking, I still went, well, here we are. And then dumped it onto the bread. And then I had to sit there for the whole time I was making thinking, I ruined that. Why didn't I just do that?
Yeah.
So then I'm watching Lottie. And as she was like putting it in the oven, she was like, should I fold the ends under? No. And then didn't do it. And I was like, why didn't you do that?
I want to backtrack, rewind just a second. Sarah did not get her brownies out of the tin.
Oh, right.
Only served one tin, which is technically only 9 brownies. Okay?
Which is, we talked about the brief. You got to fulfill the brief.
So then Sarah also, on this one, cut off half of her babka.
And then it ended up being the roll was too tight, which is why it was so long. And they said it was too small. And it was underproofed, like...
All of that stuff, like, that's like the number one thing with especially Paul's recipes.
Yeah.
He never tells you extra. He always wants every tiny bit in the bake.
Anytime you'll ever see a technical where someone's like, and that was all I needed of it. Here's some left. It's like, then you did it bad.
You did it bad.
And I will also say, so when we are preparing for our art of podcasting, we will watch the episode twice. Once when we get dinner ready for BB and Dot.
Because we can't possibly catch everything.
Yeah, and so we're not paying super close attention. And then we watch it again once the kids go to bed before we record. And
I feel like the first one is more like kind of getting the feel of the episode, the ambiance, the tension of the room.
It allows us, when we go back and watch a second one, to watch with informed eyes, where it's like, I see there where this. So it's a little more analytical, because having gone back and watched it now for a second time, knowing that Sarah went home, you see in signature and technical and showstopper where it's like, oh, there it is.
Where it was like textbook, we couldn't keep you because you did these things, right?
Sometimes someone just has one bad bake in the week. And with Sarah, it was like, no.
So if you're listening, if you're following along at home, her X's on the boxes were signature, not enough.
Yeah.
And technical,
underproved,
left out half of the dough.
Too dense, too small.
And then showstopper was raw.
We'll get. Oh boy! So Linda ended up winning the technical, and I want to talk about Linda for a second.
I love Linda.
Linda has won me over in spite of me.
Oh,
so don't be surprised if I fall head over feet, because in the first episode, I thought it was a coin flip. But I was like, oh, I'm a little bit leaning that she should have gone home. And so then I was so ready for week 2. She did so bad week 1. Week 2, she's out. And I think she is steadily improving.
Yeah, I think so too. She has this kind of so lucky to be here attitude.
Right. The exact opposite of Rowan, I think.
Yeah, which is really why I think that you were like, well, she's not going to last too long. But she's really staying up there. I think that she just had to kind of find her groove,
Well, and I will also say, not to be too maudlin for a second, but she talked this week, just casually dropped that she had a daughter who passed away when she was 18. Mm-hmm. And I believe in the first episode, she talked about her cousin that was a EMT or an ambulance driver who passed away. And it's just hey, I think that maybe Linda might have had a hard life and has come out of it smiling and I'm just enjoying living life. And it's oh, okay, Linda, hold on. And here's what I wanted to talk about her right now. I think she got robbed a little bit.
Okay.
I am upset that she was not part of the Star Baker conversation.
Not that she wasn't Star Baker, but that she just wasn't in that.
She wasn't in the conversation. Because
they go back to the tent and they're like, so who's in the running? Okay.
She won technical. She was first in technical by far. Mm-hmm. They were so impressed by her technical. This wasn't just well, you're the best of the worst. They were like, this is textbook, to the point where Paul was like, have you made this before? And her signature, they were like, well, the texture's not right. It's more like a sponge.
Too cakey. Yeah.
But the flavors are great, and this is great, and this is great, and this is great.
I think that they also looked pretty nice.
Yeah. And then her showstopper, there was a couple criticisms, but mostly
the piping. They didn't like the piping,
but they were the cake is great, and this is great, and this is great.
Right.
And comparatively, I think that is as positive, if not because if you look technical and how it balanced as Mark L. And Peters, and the fact that she wasn't even maybe she was considered and it was just edited out, but I thought she had a very good week. Mm-hmm. Even if she wasn't mentioned.
Well, wait, where was Peter in the technical?
Peter in the technical was 4th or 5th. Okay. Yeah, he was middle, and Mark L was 3rd. Mark L, another one. If you look at the first 4-star bakers here, mm-hmm. right? Peter.
Yeah.
I think Peter, just as a quick analysis, is, as Paul said later in the episode, Mr. Consistent, which is going to keep him in that top 4 range for a while.
Yeah.
Because you expect good from him. And I think that he is doing a good job. Like Paul said, okay.
He's never going to be the whoa, we weren't expecting for the showstopper to really blow us out of the water. He's going to be, well, of course. I mean, yeah, he's he's doing as good as he does.
Like
right?
the one when Paul made the bread lion, that was like, whoa, where did this come from, right? Where I think in this one, Peter had the only cake in the showstopper that I was like, that is like store, like patisserie, like that.
I really loved Mark L's look. I agree with Prue. Like that was a modern, nice looking cake.
Aesthetic. I mean, it does look good. It's not.
I would have bought that cake.
But so we have Peter first, and then we had Dave.
Yeah.
Who Dave has since then done okay. I thought they were like Paul was really hard on him for his showstopper cake. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous.
It was fine.
And to pull off the like cream filling, for the Fraser cake, in the heat that they were dealing with, and it looked so good. I was like,
he added fruit, and no one else added like fresh fruit.
And then week 3, you had other Mark. Right. And here's the thing. Dave, Mark, and Markel were not on my radar week 1.
Right.
Right. Like they all seem pretty middle of the pack. And then since then, I feel like Dave has consistently done a good job. I don't think he's had like a ooh kind of like week. Mark, older Mark, I think did really well week 3 and has been middling 1, 2, and 4. So he might have just been a blip. But I feel like Mark L has been consistently improving over time.
Yes. I feel like, though, Lottie has been going a little downhill. I hate to say it. She's such a cool gal.
Yes.
I love like all of her little like sarcastic asides.
Oh, the moment with her and Mark L where she was like, well, you're hiding your emotions. And he was like, really? And she's like,
no.
They are friends, and anyone who knows me will tell you, like, watching people become friends makes me the happiest.
Love it.
Whether it is, like, reality TV or scripted television, and, like, seeing them, like, talk to each other, I'm like, I don't know.
But she is getting frazzled. She needs to get it together. She needs to get that confidence back because it just has started to be like watching,
Come Undone.
Watching her come undone.
She said numerous times in this episode, like, it is what it is, or what are you going to do, or it's too late. Like, she seems very resigned. She has the energy of a little bit like Jim or Pam on The Office.
Sure.
Where it's a lot of like, oof. Ugh, right? Where it's just like, no, you could be better than, like, you just need to buckle down. Like, I feel like with her showstopper, she was like, I practiced it like 15 to 18 times, and she put the work in, and like, I don't know that it saved her because I think Sarah still would have gone home, but I think it raised her back up a little bit into the conversation. But like that kind of thing where it's just like, no, you need to be operating at the top of your intelligence.
Right.
And I feel like in the technical, when she just kind of laid that far too big babka in there, it was like, this is not top of your intelligence. You are panicking.
Yeah.
And you're just like throwing it in there.
Okay. So what else were you talking about?
Showstopper,
Mark L.
They're becoming friends?
Becoming friends.
I like that.
I don't know what happened.
Okay. Oh, who we're impressed by? Who's growing?
Yes. I think that are we doing our top 3?
Well, we'll get to that because we still need to talk about Showstopper. But I do have one other thing I want to say about Peter. Is I think in high school, I think Peter, everybody wanted to smooch him. And he was so naive and sweet that he'd be like, oh, come on, guys, stop kidding around. And they're like, no, we all want to switch you, Peter. And he's like, oh, you guys. And he never took it seriously, but they were all serious. That's my theory. This is my fan fiction about Peter. Because he just seems so sweet and nice. And he reminds me of Ted from Schitt's Creek.
Well, you're rewatching Schitt's Creek, which means we are all rewatching Schitt's Creek.
You're welcome.
I find it distracting when I'm trying to pay attention to my children.
Well, they basically raise themselves, especially the 9-month-olds.
But I think you're right. I think he is very Ted pre-jilting.
Yes. He's so goofy, but also very cute. Where it's just like, oh, if you knew how cute you were, you would not be as cute as you are. That kind of deal. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Showstopper.
He don't know he's beautiful.
Sure.
No, he's not the kind.
Sure. So the Showstopper briefing was white chocolate cake.
Yes.
Celebration cake.
Yes.
And I feel like
Paul loves white chocolate.
Yeah.
He has gone on and on about how he constantly nicks chocolate off of people's baking stations, and he and Mary used to have a thing where like she would be baking in the master class and he would be like shoving the chocolate in his mouth, and like he loves white chocolate. He was in such a bad mood that I don't think that anybody watching it who had not watched those things that we have watched would even know that he loves white chocolate.
Yeah. He seemed frustrated that he had to eat those cakes.
Yeah.
Did you notice that it was like there was a little bit, it's funny, we're drinking some red wine now as we record. It was a little bit of like Wine Mom-esque, the way some of the contestants talked about chocolate. They were like, chocolate is like a endorphin in a jar. And they had a little bit of like, oh, it's dangerous having all this chocolate around. There was a little bit of that like, oh, me and chocolate, don't even get me started.
I mean, a little bit, but white chocolate isn't chocolate.
I agree. So we had these white chocolate cakes.
Yes.
And let's just put the tiger on the table and yell at it. Sarah watered down her white chocolate.
Yeah.
Which is a thing I've never heard of before, and I think was her undoing.
Yeah. I think that was the bad idea.
Because I think here, watching it a second time, I noticed that with her layers, right, she baked the sponge and then cut it. Mm-hmm. And if it was raw then, I think she would have seen it. So what I'm betting happened is all that moisture condensed down, and that's why there was the leaning. That's why she couldn't keep her thing steady, because it was all pushing it back into raw dough.
Yes.
Because there was so much moisture in the cake from adding water.
Well, they went on and on and on about how temperamental white chocolate is and how it's basically just cocoa like butter, right? Yeah. And so most of the bakers just replaced the butter in their recipes. Sura added water to it, and if you were doing this with butter, and you added water to your butter, basically you would just be diluting the flavor of the cake.
Yeah. It didn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense, because like if you're going to use butter in a cake, use a really good butter, which means that it hasn't been diluted. Really like cheap butters that freeze like with like shards, right? You should be able to freeze butter and it tastes as creamy frozen as it does like room temperature, right? But if you buy really cheap butter, then it starts to get like these kind of crystals and shards and stuff when you freeze it. And that's because of the water content.
Yeah. And
I love butter, by the way.
It is Teresa's favorite
I think butter is my favorite food.
That's fair. We have, no joke, at any given time in our freezer, like 7 sticks of butter in case we run out. Because it's happened. Sometimes running out of butter will just sneak up on you. We also bake a lot.
We do. But we discovered European style Irish butter.
If you guys can get your hands on some Kerrygolds, treat yourself.
And if you can't get your hands on some Kerrygold, Aldi brand has their very own Irish style butter, which is just as good.
It's indiscernible. So let's talk about the other people's cakes.
Okay.
Laura's cake, I thought it was good. It you like the style with that white chocolate bouquet on top.
I think that Mary would have loved the look of that cake. She would have loved it. Just all of those beautiful, like ribbon-like white chocolate curls. That's like her thing. She loves to put the chocolate curls on top of the cake, and she just piled it high like a literal bouquet. It was beautiful. And Paul was like, I don't really like Mary.
Okay, but here's what not okay. I'm agreeing with you. Okay.
Oh, right.
Is that I have had a boss or two and a teacher or two where like that was their whole vibe of this, like, I don't know about that, like that they wanted you to like chase, reach for that brass ring, right? Instead of saying like, I think this is good. Like they feel like they need to push you.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, because when she walked away from that, what she didn't hear was like Prue saying this is great,
right?
And like Peter being like, when they cut into it, Peter was like, ooh, right? Like Peter, like look at it, and Paul even saying like, oh, the flavors are good. And like all she
had
heard,
the elderberry jam,
black currant,
yes, black currant.
And all she heard was like Paul didn't like the design, right?
Yeah.
Like that. I think that is like now chasing Paul's approval, which I think will wear her out.
Exactly. Know your own worth, girl.
Indeed. I think. Let's see who else did it. Like I said, I think Peter's was like maybe not trendy, boutique-y like bakery.
Okay.
But
yes.
but if I ordered that for like my 18-year-old's graduation and that came, I'd be like, that's money well spent. I also think it's interesting. I've noticed that you can really kind of tell who everybody is missing the most as they're quarantining here. Like Peter has baked for his brother like every time. And as someone who's very close to their brothers, like I totally get this.
Totally.
And like I think Laura bakes for her husband. And like I think that you just
Lottie bakes for her parents and grandparents. Right. Doesn't she live? No, she lives with her aunt and uncle.
But like down the street. No, it's down the street from her grandparents.
Right.
And like you see Dave cooking for his girlfriend who is pregnant. He can't be with. Mark L bakes for his wife. Like definitely and not just once or twice, because that's usually what happens.
And the other Mark bakes for his kids, who I actually found out are in the quarantine bubble with him.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, because he's a single dad. Yes. Okay. And you see that over and over again. And it's not just like, oh, this week my celebration cake it's literally like, oh, they like this flavor.
Right.
This is their favorite. I bake this for them all the time.
Which again, Paul was so snippy about like, oh, so you're baking this graduation cake for your brother who can't eat it? Good on Peter for saying, no, I made this cake for him before I left.
Thing is like Paul can't nail sarcasm because he's too much of an a-hole to begin with. So when he goes for sarcasm, it sounds so sincere.
But here's the thing. He obviously has a sense of humor. He's in on a lot of the jokes.
Yeah.
Like we saw that in the cold open last week.
Yeah, he's just not good at it. He's not funny. Yeah. Sometimes he gets jokes well. Sometimes, but he's not going to market them. So let's see. Who else? Who else did a thing? We talked about Dave's cake with the strawberries that I thought was very pretty.
I did too.
The Prugasm.
Hermine's
cake. Hermine, another one who I feel like has potential to be a surprise breakout.
She's kind of bumbly, though. She's like, I'm just going to do this and see if it works.
Focused. Because they talked about
what it is.
With the cake today, with her showstopper, they were like, it's like two different cakes.
So the top tier had these kind of like white chocolate and a purpley kind of like rosettes on it with a sculpture-y element on the top in tempered white chocolate. And then the bottom had a kind of messy collar thing going on. But it was the same flavor in both
It was
cakes.
not of a piece, though. If you look at it, it did look like two different cakes stacked on top of each other, but they liked them both.
Yes, they were delicious.
And it was like, it feels like she just needs to get focused a little bit.
Yeah.
And if she can nail that down, I think that she will be more of a contender than she is now. So and Linda's was fine. She kind of fell apart with the collar didn't work, or she was trying to do some like pre-done piping and ended up having to do it freehand, and it was messy.
They didn't like that. And then Lottie pulled it out because she decorated the cake with like these beautiful like big shards, and she made this kind of like geo sapphire thing. And I mean, they liked the taste of the cake, so it was fine. Is there anybody we're missing?
I think that's pretty much I mean, you really liked Mark Al's with the very like geometric kind of shapes on it, and he didn't. I will say this is we have often now seen people do the like naked frosting look where it's very thin and you can kind of see the cake through it. Man, it seems so easy, but I would say 9 times out of 10 it just looks messy and like
But
unfinished.
I think he did a great job on it.
He did a great job.
Yeah. Benjamina was really into the naked look as well. And I think that as the season progressed, she got better at it.
Yeah.
But it just, you really have to do it right.
So now we've come to the ending. So Mark L.
And my last sip of wine.
Mine too. Mark L. ends up winning Star Baker, which I think is fine. I think it was one of those weeks where everyone made, like, if you were to, like, do a curve on the grading, right, I think the highest grade was like a B B plus, maybe. I don't.
Yeah, those brownies brought everybody down.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was pulling out an A game this time, and I think that they said, Lottie and Sarah were like in running to go home, but I think that if you look at it again, Mark, Al, Peter, and I Will Fight for Linda had good weeks. But like there was no one where you're just like, oh my God, you did a great job.
I feel like if Hermine had done better in the brownies, because they were like, there's so many flavors in these brownies. She had
and they were a little messy.
Pistachio and white chocolate and regular chocolate and like all kinds of different things. If she had done better in those brownies, I think she could have been star baker. I think that Prue loved the taste of her cake.
Obviously, yes.
And I think that she was kind of middle ground on the technical, which doesn't always matter too much.
When you have 8, middle ground is still like 4th or 5th, you know what I mean? Like,
but I think that she could have been in contention for Star Baker. I'm not saying that she was going to definitely get it, but...
Well, but I think that that's what we saw a lot of this week, was a lot of missed opportunities at Star Baker.
Yeah.
Where I think if Linda's brownies had been a little bit better, she would have been a shoe-in. I think if Dave's brownies had been a little bit better, would have been a shoe-in.
Gosh, those brownies.
They brought everyone down because I think that they just missed the mark so wide because they were trying so big.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. It is very frustrating. And so, let's see. So, Sarah and Lottie, but it's Sarah. And there is an energy after she is announced where it is, I think we've reached that week 4. They've been together a month, and I think everybody likes Sarah. And I think Sarah has done very well before. And so I think this is the first time of like, this sucks. This is bad that we have to send Sarah home. Like Noel even says in the signature to her, like, you're my favorite, don't tell anybody. Ha ha ha.
And then at the end, he was like, well, if you get rid of Sarah, I'll go instead of Sarah or Lottie because I really like those ladies.
And I think that was kind of the vibe. Is I think everybody really liked both of them. And I think this was the first hard send home where it was like, oh, no.
No, here's the thing. You have to fulfill the brief.
You have to fulfill the brief. And you can't serve raw in a showstopper.
Yeah. That's one of the things, right? That's the thing. That's a thing.
We were talking about this when we watched it. Like, raw in a technical is forgivable, right? Because it's like, well, we didn't tell you how long, and we've
never baked it before, and the recipe was really sparse, and like.
But to have an inedible showstopper, we both, when we first saw it, like the first time we watched it today, we both like gasped in pain.
It was like the air left the room.
Yes, yeah, it was like the moment in like a crime procedural where you realize like the lead has been shot, and it's like nobody knew at first, and then you look down and it's just blood coming from it. It was like that. But with a cake, but in cake form, or it's just like because they looked at.
So not somebody dying.
Well,
just cake.
There was when Prue looked at it and went, "Ooh," and looked up, and she kind of leans in, and then they showed it, and it wasn't a little raw; it was like raw sponge. It's like, oof, hurt. Yeah, hurt. So now. I do want to talk about Contenders because I feel like a lot of things have shifted around for me because I had Lottie in there for a while. I think I had Sarah in there for a while.
I had Linda. I'm still on Linda's team.
Okay.
I'm still on Linda's team. Also Peter. We both had Peter. So you had Sarah, Lottie, and Peter, and I think last week I had Linda, Lottie, and Peter.
Mark. Maybe, yeah.
Man, Lottie is going to have to impress me next week. She was kind of falling apart, but I still have Linda. I'm still pulling for Linda. Love Peter. Oh, who is that next one? Is it Mark? Which Mark is it? It's one of the Marks, I think. Or could it be Dave?
I'm feeling better about Dave.
Yeah.
Feeling stronger about Dave. Now, here's what I'll say about Lottie. It would not be the first time that someone has started with a lot of potential, had like 2 bad weeks, and then like started won 3 Star Bakers in a row. It's happened.
Nadia,
Rahul had a couple bad weeks. No. Yes.
Yeah. He had 2 bad weeks.
He had 2 bad weeks where he was in the bottom and
he lost his mojo and he found it again.
Right.
It was great.
We've seen it. But I think she's gonna have to gain some inner fire to get there.
Yeah.
Let's see. I still feel good about Peter. I think he's Mr. Consistent. I think he may end up being like Richard, though, where Richard was like consistently good and was like consistently second place, including the final.
But we've seen that again, right? Remember,
say words.
I can't remember. It was the guy who was always second in technical.
Oh, yes. The guy who did the like travel doctoring stuff.
Yeah.
What is his name?
Oh, no.
I don't know.
I feel like this is the first time we've forgotten somebody's name.
Okay, yes, but that guy.
Yeah.
It was like a David, Peter, Bruce.
Was it David?
It might have been David. Yes. Okay. Maybe. So, I'm going to say Peter.
I can't be bothered to look it up on my phone. I was going to be sneaky about it, but
I'm going to say Peter.
He was
Dave.
the guy who.
Can I say my three, please?
I'm so sorry. He was the guy who had.
You're still not gonna let me go. I'm so sorry. But if I could just.
Remember, like his brother-in-law was from. And like his partner.
You interrupted me for a thought that you could not finish.
And his partner was from the same place, remember?
Yeah.
It was like Eastern Europe.
I had one more name to say.
Okay, fine.
It was literally one word. Peter, Dave, and Mark L.
It's one of those.
This week. Just coming off of this week.
Okay.
Now, here's what I will also say, because I think we've talked about this before. You're just laughing now, because you're not thinking. Okay. There's only 2 contestants right now that I would watch a, like, food show hosted by. I'm not going to tell you who, but can you guess? I think one of them you can probably guess.
Peter.
No. I mean, he's fine.
And Lottie.
Lottie is one, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Mark L, I would watch like a trap, and it might just be because he has like a great accent and a cool beard. But I would watch him do like a traveling through the UK, like sampling local breads. And talking
okay.
About it. Like,
yeah, he's really like cute and innocent looking. So.
Right, but he has like a good traveler look.
Yeah.
You know?
He talks a lot about South Africa. Is his wife from South Africa?
No, I think they just travel a lot.
Oh, okay.
Because he talked today about drunk elephants.
Yeah, South Africa.
Sure. Okay, so that's going to do it for us. If you like the show, tell people we're in podcatchers. Make sure you subscribe, like, and subscribe on YouTube. And Teresa.
And remember that I read all those comments. Be nice to me.
No, you can't tell people to be nice on the internet.
No, why not?
Because
will they be mean because I asked them to be nice?
No, they just won't say anything. Okay, now give us a new preposition.